Being respectful of everyone's time, I think we will start this panel in which we want to look today at the opportunities in travel, especially looking at disrupting tech companies and travel startups, and how the current situation in the travel industry can be improved with the help of new innovations coming from startups. My name is Fred Roeder. I'm an angel investor, also invested in a couple of travel companies, and I'm also a mentor at Intelak, which is the co-host of this wonderful panel today. It's great to be at ATM, and thank you everyone for the help organizing this. I have three panelists with me today. All three are founders of travel tech companies, very exciting companies. I had the pleasure to meet all of these gentlemen beforehand and learn a bit about their business ideas. And also all three of them are alumni or current program members of Intelak. So this wonderful tech incubator and accelerator really brings a lot of travel tech talent and tech talent in general to the region from all over the world, to Dubai, to really make an impact on the future of travel. So our three panelists today, which I will introduce in a second, will first present a bit what their businesses are working on, how they want to utilize technology to improve travel. And then we will also, we're very much looking forward to learn from them how they mastered the last 15 months and did not go bust because they're still sitting here and they're even wearing clothes. So they didn't have to sell their last shirt. And then what actually the future of travel is going to look like and how their solutions will make it easier for the ecosystem to survive, adapt, and grow. So our first panelist to my very left is Tarun Krishna. Tarun is managing partner and co-founder at Trift Experiences. Trift is offering very localized experiences through a platform that provides travel guides, stories, and virtual experiences curated by travelers for travelers all around the world. Welcome, Tarun.
Hello, Frederick, and everyone. Good afternoon.
Then next to Tarun, there's Gregor Ammann, who's co-founder and managing partner of Hotel Data Cloud. And Gregor is a very experienced entrepreneur and knows the travel industry very well. I had the pleasure a couple of weeks ago to listen to his pitch at Intelak at a curated pitch session. And Gregor's company, Hotel Data Cloud, is already on the market for, I think, 4 or 5 years, right? Yeah. So you're not a baby startup anymore. You have matured. You have figured out your niche.
Yeah.
And if you have ever had a problem while trying to check in or pay during a hotel stay, you might have seen that many processes in hotels are still very analog, and you have lots of breaches in data mediums. And when you see the interaction between online travel agencies and hotels, sometimes you can even see fax machines being involved. And this is something you really try to solve with a software as a service approach. And you can tell us a bit more in a second. And then to my right, there is Edmundas Balchikonis, who's co-founder and CEO of Eddie Travels, which is an AI-based travel chat app and chatbot solution. Eddie is also an alumnus of Intelak, as the other two gentlemen, and currently also really tries to help reviving travel in this region and globally. So Tarun, I started with introducing you. Can you tell us a bit more about the solution you're providing, and how this is more and more relevant these days, how you've survived COVID, because you're sitting here, and how you will help the travel ecosystem to grow again.
Perfect. Thank you, Frederick. So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tarun Krishna, managing partner and co-founder of Trift. So, at Trift, we are inspiring a new generation of travelers who are really looking to explore the hidden niches of the world, as how I'd like to call it. And we offer a travel platform that has travel guides, virtual experiences as well as stories for the travelers to test out. With the whole COVID situation, we've been seeing that a lot of tour guides in particular have been really affected due to the fact that tourism is in down and there's no one, and we've already seen this in the past couple of months, is 2 years in total. So at TRIF, what we're trying to do is we're creating these virtual experiences with which travelers can actually visit or experience a bit of the destination, which is curated by the travel content creators and these tour guides in particular. So we currently have more than 45 destinations that you can go today and experience it at thrift.io. And this, after maybe a couple of, according to around December, we started seeing a lot of interest from the government agencies who really wanted to help their local ecosystem of tour guides. So through that, in December 2020, we actually partnered with Enrich in Brazil, which is an EU-led initiative by the Cerebric initiative, where we provided our virtual experience services as a platform for more than 10 plus tour guides who are currently having their tours on the platform itself. So this is pretty much what we're doing currently after this whole COVID situation. And we're not here to say that virtual tourism is going to stay for a long time, but we are here to say that virtual tourism is going to help give people a new perspective to really exploring the destination before they can go ahead and make these purchases. So
Tarun, to keep this a bit interactive.
Yeah.
So as an investor, I'm always interested, how do you actually make money as a company and who are your customers? Who do you want to meet at ATM? Who should really come to you and say, wow, I heard you talking, that sounds interesting. How can I buy your services?
Perfect. So currently we're actually building a tours platform which would allow for the local tour guides to actually place their tours on our platform itself, which means that users can go ahead and purchase these tours after the whole inspiration phase, as we call it. So we're looking to collaborate with local tour guides, with DMCs who would be potentially wanting to support their local ecosystems. And our business model is focused on the fact that for every transaction that happens, we sort of give a sliding commission to the tour guides for the whole process itself.
So let me ask you this. Is travel even necessary if you can virtual travel?
I'm sorry?
Are you making traveling obsolete because people can just use your service to see how the Copacabana looks like and they don't have to go there anymore?
No, again, as I mentioned, we're not here to say that travel is going to completely be virtual, but to complement the whole thing once the whole COVID phase is passed by, which we're already seeing things recovering. So yes, Frederick, I hope that answers the question.
Sure. We're going back to you in a second. Okay. Thank you so much, Tarun. Big applause for his great idea. So, Gregor, we have alluded a bit to what you're doing, but obviously your business model and your solution is much more complicated. And since you're a hotel data buff and geek, how about you tell us a bit more what you're up to and how you're actually making hotels, administrations, and sales departments' lives easier?
Well, as you mentioned, as a B2B startup in the software as a service space, we always struggle with giving a comprehensive overview of what HCC does in those 3 to 5 minute pitches. And a lot of times we, especially someone who is not from the travel industry, we get blank stares and they look at us and they say like, so are you like a different booking.com? But as I've mentioned, we're a B2B service that essentially helps hotels sell more bookings and get more clients. And the reason HCC is necessary in the first place is because we've seen in the travel industry, and my background before I started HCC was having a hotel room wholesale company. One of the things that my clients always told me, they said, Gregor, we love your prices, we love your availability, you have like 1 million hotels to choose from. But do we have better descriptions? Do we have nicer content? We've seen there's outdated pictures, we've seen there's little information on the hotels that you're selling. And I was new in the industry. I started doing that wholesale in 2014. I was a pilot before I did that. And I always thought, coming new into the industry, well, that's an easy one. I just Google hotel description database, and I select the best and first result that comes up. And believe it or not, I Googled and Googled, and there was nothing. And I thought, well, okay, then somehow this is solved differently. And I was looking for a year and a half to find, and even a perfect solution. I didn't find a mediocre one. So I found my co-founder, Kevin, during another project. He's here in the audience today. And it also took me 3 months to convince him that travel distribution content is a niche that we should go into. Because like everybody who is not from the industry, he told me, well, don't tell me that in 2016, this is an issue that hasn't been solved before. But if you look at it, hotels have a couple of partners only, and then those partners redistribute to others, and there's a couple of intermediaries involved from the hotel to the final vendor where the booking is taking place. With every intermediary, with every step, the quality of the description decreases, and hotels, they try to update manually still, they make phone calls, they update extranets, but they're dependent on if those partners disseminate the information down. So HTC set out to give hotels control back over their descriptive content, over their pictures. And what we do is we distribute it through a relatively easy to be integrated API and go from the hotel directly to the last vendor that makes the booking. Now, addressing the elephant in the room, I think 2020 for any travel company was very different than we have anticipated in the beginning. We raised our first round for fundraising. Before that, Kevin and I invested our own money into HTC. And 2020 was supposed to be the year that we scale bigger. We already had global hotels. We are serving hotels in over 158 countries at the moment. And I will never forget the phone call I made to Kevin in like end of March, beginning of April. When borders shut down, travel grinded to a halt globally. I called him and said, Kevin, this is the worst industry we can possibly be in. How are we going to survive? And as counterintuitive as it might have looked at the time, now looking back to 2020, it has actually allowed us to scale bigger and faster than we anticipated. Because hotels have understood that they need to change, that they need to embrace digitalization. They cannot make business like they did business 20 years ago, still sending faxes with updates, because this is a never-ending story. They're never going to be in charge of what they're displayed in. And there's a beautiful study of Google and McKinsey that came out about 2 years ago, where it shows that it takes about, I think it's 43 sessions over a 36-day period to make a single hotel booking, because the client needs to pick bits and pieces of information from all different sources in order to be able to make an educated decision. And then you arrive at the hotel of your dream vacation only to find out that the swimming pool is closed for maintenance because the hotel was not able to get that information across to all the channels. And of course that leads to like disappointed travelers, there's going to be bad reviews on TripAdvisor. Some clients even don't find your hotel because they go on a meta search website, they click that they want to have like a kids club for, I don't know, below 4 years old, and their hotel just doesn't come up, even if they have the services. So what we did last year is we implemented COVID attributes. We looked at another possibility, how we also can be able to monetize the other side of the market by implementing an AI-powered recommendation engine that all the travel resellers can use in order to get more clients. And in that process, the United Nations actually became aware of HTC and called us a healing solution for tourism. We're very honored about that. We won the LEAP Prize at the end of last year in the US as the only startup non-US based. They gave us $200,000 grant, equity free. Free money is something that startups always love. And I think that as hard as the global pandemic is on the industry as a whole and a lot of companies, I think the companies who make it through will strive and will come out at the other side as winners, and being able to scale faster, quicker, and have a really good couple of years of exponential growth.
Thank you very much. And I mean, from consumer standpoint, I mean, I see that even that the large hotel chains often have a big problem displaying the amenities and experience of their thousands of hotels through their websites. I assume that's all done through some CMS system where the hotels have like some access to, but not the best one. So usually the fancy restaurants at hotels, as you can see here in Dubai, where you have many good restaurants in hotel chains, they don't even bother with the CMS, but then set up their standalone websites because they cannot really communicate with that. So is your target audience more, trying to speak against that, is your target audience rather independent hotels, small chains, or are you also looking at the IAGs, Hiltons, Marriotts of the world?
But as you see, it pretty much solves problems for every segment in the market. But we've seen that the most benefit at the moment we can give to like the boutique hotels, the owner-operated hotels, chains with up to 15, 20 hotels. But also on the other hand, we have last year signed up with Global Hotel Alliance, who's currently featuring 700 hotels in their portfolio. And as you mentioned, the old-fashioned CRMs they're having, they're currently implementing the 700 data points that HTC provides into their CMS that features 38 data points.
Exciting. I hope you will have lots of success and make my life easier by being able to actually see what I book. Thank you. Now we come over to our Lithuanian friend Edmundas. Do you still feel like a Lithuanian, or do you already feel like a Dubai local?
Lithuanian Dubai local.
Lithuanian Dubai local, okay. Eddie, tell us a bit more about Eddie Travels, about your journey, how you experienced the last 15 months, why you're a survivor, and tell me if you can actually understand me, because I'm having a hard time understanding the panelists when you answer something. So in case I ask you something you've already mentioned, don't think I'm not listening to you. I'm really trying to. It's just the audio.
Sure. Thank you, Fred. Hi, everyone. My name is Edmundas. I'm co-founder and CEO of Eddie Travels, an AI travel assistant with the best travel deals just a message away on popular chat applications and with over 4 million users around the world. So firstly, thank you, Fred, for being here and asking questions in person. Thank you, our amazing audience, all the 15 people. You're awesome. It's great to see you in person and then be back in a real event. And I really appreciate Dubai and UAE being open and allowing us to come and actually have a real travel conference about travel and travel here. So before the pandemic, Eddie Travels was primarily focused on helping people find the best flight deals in seconds from any destination in the world, even if you don't know where you would like to travel. So you would just send on Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp flights to anywhere from Dubai next month or this weekend, and you would get the best flight deals. This was our primary use case, helping people get inspired and travel for a weekend getaway or for some vacation option the next month if you're not sure where you're traveling. So clearly, being focused on flights, then the pandemic hit was not a good situation for us. So we had all kinds of issues, and basically our business model got shut down by COVID in March, April in 2020, and we had to start basically from scratch and look how do we pivot, what do we do next, and this is where we discovered domestic travel. We started integrating accommodation providers. And now we're very happy to work with Booking.com for accommodation search. So you can type in, hotels in Dubai, 5 stars that are pet friendly, and get the best hotel offers in seconds, powered by Booking.com. And now you can do it with voice or text messages of Eddie Travels. And then we started going deeper also in other categories. And soon we're going to be launching tours and activities and car rentals with new providers. And of course, we still provide flight search, now powered by Kiwi.com, our great partners, from great online OTA from Europe. And then we also built our own chat application through the pandemic, because besides having all the troubles of people not traveling, not flying, we also started having all kinds of problems with third-party chat applications like Messenger, just simply removing some features that were very important for us as an AI assistant chatbot available on their platform. Luckily, that through the pandemic, the travel companies became way more open in collaborating with the startups. And we saw this from Booking.com, from Kiwi, from other travel companies that we worked with. And we realized that we should be more open, and we should start thinking how can we help destination marketing organizations, other travel companies, use our technology to get travelers traveling again, coming back to their favorite leisure vacation spots. And we started partnering with DMOs, as destination marketing organizations. We started partnering with all kinds of companies now and providing our technology, our AI assistant, for them to install, integrate into their website or mobile application. And now you can find Eddie Travels on, for example, in Qatar, in Doha, in a mobile application for mobile concierge called eButler, where eButler provides house cleaning services, anything that you would expect from a concierge application. And now you can also, with eButler, search flights, accommodation, and soon activities powered by Eddie Travels. The same with in Vanuatu, out of all places, which is right now still closed due to COVID pandemic, but soon they're going to be opening up, and there we're working with Vanuatu Investment Bureau and providing our AI assistant for their websites. So our AI assistant proactively engages their website visitors and suggests to see how they in the future can travel to Vanuatu, where they can stay. So now we're really doubling down on partnerships and working together to get people traveling again.
All right, thank you. Tarun, we also sit here today on the panel to talk about cross-sectoral collaboration. Travel being such a fragmented industry, it also tends to sometimes lag a bit behind other faster moving industries when it comes to digitization. So are there other industries or sectors where you draw a lot of inspiration when you came up with your product?
Okay. So when we started Thrift, we were actually a travel trip itinerary platform. We really wanted to just focus on trip itineraries to destinations that are in general. But then there's this whole sector that nobody is focusing on, and that's where we saw that space in the hidden gems or unconventional travel or adventure travel, or however you'd like to term it. And this particular segment was where we thought that'll be a good focus, and that's when we joined the Intelak program itself. And through the program, we were supported by Dubai Tourism to really, try and work with influencers or mid-scale influencers. But it was an ongoing process for a while. So that sort of lens through which we were able to get access to an organization like Dubai Tourism was really incredible. And this sort of happened through the whole program itself. So that's where I would say we had that initial flair of the cross-collaboration sector. But am I answering your question, or this where you wanted me to answer on?
No, that's very interesting. Thank you. Yeah, there are no wrongs. Gregor, I would be curious. So imagine after this panel, you bump into owner or CEO of small hotel chain, I don't know, 15 hotels. And he would say, or she would say, why should I pay? I assume you charge something like $1,000 per hotel per year or something, I think, if I remember right. So, I mean, for the last 15 months, I only had 20% of the occupancy I had the years beforehand. Why should I spend another 1K per hotel per year while I'm already broke? Like, how long does it take to have return on investing in you? Do you have, like, since you already have some customers, right, you must have some benchmark or some kind of calculation for hotels that are interested or skeptical of using your service?
But if you look at it, while $1,000 as a number seems like a bigger number, if you break it down on the per day costs, that's about $2 something a day. That's not even the cost for a cappuccino. If you think of the big three pillars that we're solving for the hotel, and one is, of course, protecting the hard-earned reputation. We haven't found any hard numbers yet for how much is one bad review costing you financially, but that's definitely more than a couple of dollars a day. So that's one. The other one is, of course, the reduced manpower. They are, and we talked to a bigger chain here in Dubai. There was one person responsible for auditing all the partner websites for 90 hotels. So that's the whole job she does, is to make sure that all the messages are according to their marketing messages. If you do that manually, that is a never-ending story. If you update content manually, again, this is a very cumbersome process, and it's not even only about the time that you're saving, but it's about mistakes you're not making. It's about the picture that you don't forget to update with an important reseller, and then the client arrives and he says, well, the picture you showed me when I booked this was the junior suite, but I booked a single room. This looks different. I'm very disappointed. And the other thing is of course, discoverability. And that's why we always lead now with HTC brings you more bookings. While we are not directly involved in the booking process, it helps the discoverability tremendously. So we have a couple of hotels, and that's also part of the money that we use from the lead price to be able to give them some relief during that difficult times. So we're not an inflexible company because we understand that a company and a hotel that we're supporting now in these difficult times when they only have 10, 15% occupancy, or if they're even closed at the moment, but we gain a lifetime partner in our aim to make travel more accessible for everybody.
Cool. And I just, again, like, great what you're doing. I just have a reservation for the St. Regis Palm, which is supposed to open this week. Maybe it's already open. It's a bit unclear from their social media. And just what you said, I think the standard rooms, they actually have some 3D rendering of them, but all suites, they don't even show pictures. So picture not available yet, which is a bit, makes you anxious. Are they really open and available on Saturday when I'm supposed to be there? And it's, again, like, probably actually, if we can stay on this, and Eddie, I would be curious also what you have to say about this. If we look at travel, the static websites and booking portals have become actually, they seem to move slower than the consumer's behavior. And you see that a lot of consumer information from hotels and restaurants and even airlines happens rather on social media than on their websites. And I mean, I think in this region it's even more developed than in Europe, where if you want to figure out if a restaurant has a happy hour, you don't find it on their website, but only on their Instagram account. Maybe if you have any thoughts on this kind of fragmentation also of communication channels, like a quick thought from you, and then I would also ask Eddie what he thinks about that.
I mean, the fragmentation in the distribution is, the problem is because there's no automated way of doing everything. At the moment, as a smaller travel agency, it's super easy for you to connect to 30, 40, 50 APIs and get your prices and the availability, but the content is lacking. And we've seen that, and I think most of the audience will agree with me, the travel industry is not an industry compared to other industries that embraces innovation as much as, for example, fintech or food delivery. And we could understand why pre-pandemic, because it worked. If you have your hotel at 80% capacity throughout the year, why change things that you've done for like the last 50 years? But now this was a wake-up call. This was a wake-up call for hotels to understand we need to make something different. And what we've also seen is there's a trend away from the big global OTAs that serve you 1 million hotels to something more niche-y, to more regional OTAs. We see more and more OTAs emerging that cater to a very specific niche, like allergic travelers. And that's an example I always like to pick, because one of the data points that we have at HTC is which type of floor do you have in the room? Is it a carpet? Is it a wooden floor? Which is, I guess, probably irrelevant for 80% of the travelers. But for someone who is really allergic, that is a very relevant information. At the moment, for them to be able to book a hotel, they need to do a lot of research, they need to call up hotels, they need to ask, a lot of wasted time. Another topic that we're at the moment tackling is Islamic tourism. Of course, a Saudi traveler who comes to Dubai, they know everything is halal here, but if they go to Paris, if they go to London, they have no idea. Again, there's very little possibility for travel agencies at the moment to get that automated for most of the hotels in the world. At the moment, it's still too much manual research, and I'm a strong believer in using technology to your benefit, and in 2021, that should be an automated process.
Thank you. Eddie, also like from the consumer side, I think you're trying to tackle with Eddie Travels the problem that consumer behavior in many parts of the world has moved away from going to a static website and just submitting some forms, as you have to do when you attend this conference here, but having a more interactive exchange thanks to AI and chatbots. So how do you basically help the travel industry, and that's probably especially flights and hotels, how do you help them to have more this picking up customers in a more like multifactorial way when it comes to sales?
Sure. So firstly, I just have to show my appreciation of travel companies, especially hotels and airlines. And a lot of, yeah, we can always boo-boo of their websites not being fully interactive, not being fully up to date, but they have like an actual physical business to run. They have to maintain the hotels clean and up to the highest standards of sanitation during the COVID pandemic. The same with airlines, have to disinfect everything and then make the airplanes run, make the hotels run. And if I would have to do it, all of it, and then manage the website on the top of it, I'd probably go crazy. So then this is where we come in. This is where Hotel Data Cloud comes in. We take, it's our responsibility to provide these technology solutions for them and help them be more interactive, be more progressive in communicating with their visitors. So before the pandemic, we also, I would say we were narrow-minded in a way that we were only focusing on our B2C consumer-facing solution. Basically, we're only working on Eddie Travels. You could only go to Eddie Travels experiences on the web or on Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp and chat to search for flights. And during the pandemic, we realized that that's wrong. There's way more opportunity of working together with the hotels, the airlines, DMOs, destination marketing organizations, because they don't have the resources that we have, which is machine learning engineers. I mean, we have tens of thousands of examples for training machine learning, for searching for flights, searching for hotels. This is a complicated technical challenge. On the other hand, they already run these amazing hotels and the airlines and represent destinations to travelers. So it only makes sense for us to collaborate. And during the pandemic, we started doing B2B partnerships with destination marketing organizations. And in the future, I hope we'll integrate Hotel Data Cloud to also provide their like really thorough information about the hotels. So even if the hotel website might be a little bit out of date, Eddie Travels will have the up to real-time inventory, real-time prices, and also real-time information about the venue of how big the pool is it open, how good are the restaurants in the venue. So I take this as our responsibility, and any hotels or DMOs or any other travel company that would be interested in having a personalized travel assistant in your mobile application or website, please visit eddietravels.com, check out our assistants, and we can provide it as a fully white-labeled experience also for your visitors, for your customers and travelers.
So thank you, Eddie. Did you allude to that you're already working with Gregor on something, or did you suggest that you would like to work with him on something?
I would like to work with them. We have a long, friendly relationship. We just never had a chance yet to integrate Hotel Data Cloud. Very thorough, up to 600 points of data points about hotels. It's great. We definitely need that.
Okay, so maybe next time at the next ATM, we can celebrate a successful collaboration that started on this panel.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So before this panel comes to an end, I would just be curious to talk a bit more about the travel in this region, especially. I think the Gulf region and especially Dubai served in the last at least 10 months as like a little hope of or a little light sparkle of hope for global tourism. And it seems to be that more and more tourism and travel tech companies see this really as the epicenter of the future of travel. And so maybe Tyrone, can you start talking about why the UAE and this region is a big focus for you, why you're here, why you joined Intelak?
Yes, perfect. So before I jump into that, I would like to share a very interesting statistics, right? So we've been focusing a lot of our content around Dubai itself, and in the current about 6 to 7 months, we've seen a huge spike or interest in people wanting to visit Dubai or researching more about Dubai's content. And it shows that Dubai's preparedness or the openness that they're currently facing or wanting to bring more travelers is already great, because people are researching and wanting to come and travel to Dubai. And this is at around like 30 to 40% of growth in terms of how much people are actually clicking on the Dubai tours or experiences or guides that we have currently. So that's about the statistics part. Now jumping on to why we really want to position ourselves in Dubai as well. This is the epicenter of tourism that's happening, and there is so many attractions, so many places to visit, and we really want to get travelers to come to this fantastic city and share the amazingness of this world, this part of the world.
Great, thank you. Gregor, I'm just curious, as someone who tries to harmonize and make it simpler to exchange data between hotels and OTAs and sales channels in general and the consumer. Last year, when some hotels started reopening and wanted to prove that they're COVID compliant or compliant with the safety procedures, it must have been a nightmare to display that in OTAs. Do you have any funny anecdote about this? How suddenly, I don't know, a Booking.com or TripAdvisor tries to show what hotels are actually doing because they more or less had to implement this overnight?
Well, no funny stories, unfortunately.
Only sad ones?
Fortunately. But what we've seen is that everybody in the industry realized how quickly they need to comfort travelers in order to give them that sense of safety. And that's what the UN also mentioned, that trust is the new currency in travel. If a traveler knows that they are safe at a hotel, if they know that all the necessary precautions are taken, then it's much easier for them to make the decision to go somewhere. We've seen during the time where there was a lot of domestic travel, of course we know if we're based in Dubai, we know what the measures, the government mandated measures are. But if you go outside of your home country, it was much more difficult in the beginning to actually find out what measures are taken and to have that confident, to be confident enough to make that booking. That's why we have, and it was already in end of April, when we implemented our 90-something COVID attributes. And we've seen that all the travel resellers have really embraced all those data points and tried to implement them as quickly as possible, because they see that's the only way to make it easier for a traveler to be safe and say, okay, I'm going to go there, because I know I'm not going to catch anything.
Yes, and when we talk about making travel and make it easier for the traveler and safe, Eddie, I mean, I actually looked into my app here from the Al Hosn app, which we have here in the UAE. So when you're vaccinated, you can see that, not just you, but also potentially like a border guard or something like this can see that you got 2 doses, and then I currently even have a little star on it, which means I had like a recent test and I'm negative and I'm not unsafe, and it's of course not loading right now. But many countries are discussing different ways of moving forward for cross-border travel, right? I mean, interesting positive news from the US was that the Centers of Disease Control just mentioned that vaccinated citizens, residents don't have to wear masks, not even on planes anymore, which is an interesting advice. I mean, it's not the law, it's just like an advice from a government agency. And then the Europeans are trying to come up with this unified green passport. How do you see these efforts? Do you think they're fast enough? They're agile enough? Are we risking to actually create a patchwork of solutions that will make global travel even more cumbersome? What's your view on that?
It's definitely happening too slow. Thinking about it, we've already had a year and a half of a pandemic, and we're only in serious talks of vaccination passport in European Union only now, basically. So it's clearly way too late and way too little. Great that we have places like UAE, like Dubai, Bahrain, Qatar, other countries in this region that are actually showing proper leadership, and they were the first to implement thorough checks and testing in the airports, where they forced travelers to, of course, test before, but they also have testing in the airport that actually worked and provided this infrastructure, where in Europe you still don't have it in many airports. So we're talking about testing, we're not even talking about something complicated. So it's great that the UAE is leading here by example. I'm very excited now for also the rest of this year, especially in the winter. Then from October, the Expo 2020 will start here, and I think UAE and other countries again will probably show leadership here and introduce first some kind of vaccination certificate acceptance or some kind of vaccination passport equivalent, and hopefully it will work with European Union so Europeans can come to the Expo 2020. And I've also heard that at least part of Oktoberfest is moving here, so we can, our German friends can come from Germany for Oktoberfest to Dubai, and Dubai lead by example, and maybe hopefully So I'm from European Union, I'm from Lithuania, and I've been here in Dubai now for a half a year because travel and business is just not happening in Lithuania, it's not happening in European Union. And by being here in Dubai, I can come to these conferences and participate here and actually make deals happen and move forward and help travel recovery with my little efforts and with our little startup. So yeah, I'm just excited for being in Dubai. I'm excited for you leading again of accepting vaccinated travelers in the future, and hopefully that European Union and the rest will catch up.
Thank you, Eddie. Tyrone and Gregor, do you have some thoughts about just like, how is travel going to look in the next 6 and the next 24 months? How path dependent are we on the current measures?
No, at least from what we're seeing, although there is that surge where people are really wanting to, travel, staycations are here. It's already happening. A lot of them are, currently doing domestic travel within their sectors. And we really see that in the coming months, virtual tourism is still happening, is still very well. But as the world starts to recover, we hope to see that things would go back to normal, but the new normal, as how they call it.
I think 2021 is definitely a year of recovery. We already see, everybody who was on my Instagram feed last week when there was Eid vacation, everybody was on the Maldives, I think. A lot of countries in Europe are now opening up. Italy is lifting restrictions, Germany, Austria. And what I heard from my friends in Austria is like that almost everybody's booking a vacation now. I'd like to compare the situation we are now. If you look at the Spanish flu, it also took about 2 years to be eradicated, but then we had the roaring 20s. Because everybody in the time and still now, everybody now knows for about a year and a half what it means if you cannot travel. People are eager to travel. A lot of people who spent the last year and a half in the home office hoarding the money because they weren't able to spend it, especially in Europe, are now really eager to travel to live life again. That's why I think that we as the industry in a whole have a very bright 2022 and onwards coming our way.
It's a beautiful outlook. And since it's been probably for many people about 18 months to be an in-person conference and panel, and are there any burning questions from the audience? Which is, by the way, more than 15 people.
Any questions? Anyone?
All right, anything more from our wonderful panelists? Otherwise, I think we'd keep this panel at 45 minutes to keep the quality high and the substance important.
Sounds great. Please visit eddytravels.com. Check out our AI assistant.
I would like to thank Intelak as well, of course, who not only provided us with the opportunity to speak today, but they are tremendous supporter to their alumni, opening the market locally and a little bit globally as well. So thanks to Intelak.
I would like to also give my quick closing remarks. Thank you so much for all the audience for being a part of this session. Thank you to Frederick for moderating the panel at a very short notice. To all the panelists, Edmundus as well as Gregor for making it here. And that's about it from my side. Thank you.
All right, then let's close this and let's travel.
All right. Thank you.